Welcome to the latest edition of Second City Sports. We're live and in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeena McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app. You want to know why? Because we said so, that's why. And also, you can catch our other 5 live shows throughout the week. If you happen to miss them, you can watch them and go back and listen to them at your own leisure. Make sure you download the Sports Zone Chicago app today. Speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, you can find Sports Zone Chicago on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You want to catch the podcast version of this program, Second City Sports? You can do so by subscribing to our podcast at War or Anchor. We are available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. Make sure you type this in your search engine boxes on these podcast platforms. You ready? WARR or Anchor. Once again, at War or Anchor. And you can follow War Media at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, at War Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
And good afternoon to you, Armando Alaro Jr. as well. Welcome back, buddy. Nice to see you here. I heard that you're a grandparent now, courtesy of Sean Sierra. He sent that message on the show earlier this morning. So congratulations to you, my friend. Thank you for your support. And don't forget to, like, as Lakeena said, like, comment, share, subscribe, smash that like button, share this program with 2 and everybody you know. And we are unapologetically fun. And we have very definite opinions. You have any definite opinions on any of our topics we're going to cover too throughout this 2-hour extravaganza we call it Sports Talk Radio Show. You can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page and Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions and comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something stupid, I've given Lakeena football to give you fools to full bill and beer boot.
Bye-bye.
I love when she says that. Oh, before we continue, while I stop laughing, before we continue, you can now access Sports Zone Chicago now on Roku TV. That's right. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on your Roku television. If you already have a Roku TV, you just tap in the sports section and download that Sports Zone Chicago app in that fashion. If you don't have a Roku TV, that's okay. Wherever you have your streaming devices, whether it be your iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your cell phone, your laptop, just make sure you download that Roku TV app today. Tap on that sports section and download Sports Zone Chicago in that fashion. Let's celebrate Chicago. Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku TV. Get with the program and make sure you access Sports Zone Chicago live and on demand 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and 7 days a week. I know I screwed that up. I know it's Monday. Forgive me, folks, but we always excited to bring you the best programming here on Second City Sports Zone Chicago. So Roku TVs where you can catch Sports Zone Chicago as well. Lakeena, let's kick off this Monday edition of this fabulous program by discussing Chicago baseball. Yes, let's discuss the White Sox. The way they left us where we had our last show on Friday, it's the way they still sit in the same place. But at 55 and 53, excuse me, they are 2 games behind the Minnesota Twins in the AL Central. More on them in just a moment. And they are a game behind the Cleveland Guardians. More on them in just a moment. But Lakeena, as we talked about before we started going on live today, they're still stuck in the same place as we left you guys a couple of days ago. I would tell you that things will change. Eventually they will. But Lakeena, the clock is ticking like I'll use a soap opera reference. It's like the days of our lives. That clock is ticking. That clock is ticking. That hourglass is moving slower and slower, but slower than many of us White Sox fans will like. We went through the trade deadline. We went through the mediocre play. We went through the schedule's easy foolishness. They're still stuck in the same place that we left you guys on Friday. I don't know what else to say, Lakeena.
Like sensory
I wanted to say that they should have taken 3 or 4 from Texas, but they did what I thought they were going to do and split that 4-game series. Lakeena, I am at a loss for words. I want to be excited because they're in the pennant race. The extra wild card spot starts this year, but I'm still stuck in the same place. I don't know what to do with myself anymore.
Yeah,
I don't know.
he's
I
Flemish,
don't know.
folks. Like sands through the hourglass. So is this White Sox season. It's been like just when you
Yes.
thought that maybe they figured it out. Just when you thought they may have figured it out, they do something else. They lose an opener of 3-2 in that first game of that 4-gamer. Then Dylan Cease does this thing and outdid a pitcher's duel and they won that second game. Then they get shut
Mhm.
out on the third game on Saturday. 5 RBIs by excuse me. It's just I just like and then Grandal made did something again, and then Lance Lynn once again didn't have his best start again. He reverted back to being the Lance Lynn that the Sox were struggling. Adolis Garcia drove in 5 RBIs in that game on
Mhm.
Saturday for the Rangers, and okay, yesterday, they look the Rangers had their opportunities and such. If Cody Bellinger had not screwed up that what was I think it was like what the fourth inning or
Seager.
something like that. Oh, Corey Sears, I got that. That's a Seager, but
Mhm.
yeah, if Seager had not screwed up that that run play and such, I mean, who
Mhm.
knows where that game would have gone? But the Sox were lucky that they got they got the split there. But I mean, okay, whatever. You're right back to where you started, White Sox. You're kind of like it's sort of like the merry-go-round, or I guess the roller coaster. I think is probably the better way to term it this White Sox season. So I'm like, okay, you're starting a 4-gamer against Kansas
Mhm.
City, including a doubleheader. So, but knowing this team, they'll probably split their series against Kansas City. They've given them a hard time this year. The Royals have. So I'm like, you know what? Whatever. Who cares? You're like, okay, you're 2 games. Okay, you're 2 games back. You're right back where you were on Friday, where we were when we met here. So, at this point, I'm like, I'm ambivalent about the Sox team right now. And then there was a report that thanks to our girl KXRB's Christine Manica, that Tim Anderson, who got a 2-game suspension, of course, for what
Mhm.
happened last week. Now he didn't go with the team. Now the rule did say that you could still, even if you're suspended, you can still travel with your team. Apparently, TA did not do that. So read that to how you make your own conclusions there. But I feel like this team is with all the various reports of stuff coming out, Ozzie being Ozzie again, being Ozzie again, and putting his 2 cents in as usual. I'm done. I got nothing. I got
do
nothing else to
do
say.
do 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 do. All right, that's enough. Shauna Myers $5 in the piggy bank is still safe, so we don't have to pay any royalties. But just a couple of encouraging things about the White Sox from this past weekend in Texas. The bats came out to play yesterday. Lakeena, 15 hits in general, 3 by AJ Pollock. He had 3 RBI by 3 hits and 2 RBI by Andrew Vaughn. He's seeing the ball very well right now. Eloy Jimenez had 2 hits yesterday. As we talked about last week, Lakeena, it looks like he's starting to get into that prime time superstar form. Hopefully he can keep it up. Jose Abreu once again coming up with a couple of hits. What we all think, we talked about this early in the season, Lakeena. We had his early season struggles. You think you can count this man out? No. He's still plugging away, coming up with key hits, including the big key hit in that 6th inning yesterday, which helped extend that lead for the White Sox. And his batting average overall is at 300. So the problem is, can they stay consistent? Like you said, they had Kansas City in front of them. And we'll see if they can keep it up. Luis Robert, who returned to the lineup this weekend in Texas, he did not play in Saturday's game. It looks like he's starting to see the ball very well right now, too. He had a couple of RBI yesterday, so hopefully he could keep it up. But I want to focus in on that starting pitcher. Lucas Giolito didn't have his best stuff yesterday, but that offense helped him out. Lucas Giolito gave up 6 hits in 5 innings pitched. He struck out 5, walked 3. Okay, it wasn't the greatest performance, but he did enough for the White Sox to win thanks to the offense putting up a big spot on the board early in the game. Johnny Cueto, he did his thing on Friday, but the Sox offense didn't show up. And of course, on Saturday, Michael Corbett, he didn't look great at all, but their offense looked worse. Only 2 hits. 2 hits. I know sometimes it'll happen, but that's just those just no excuse of what happened on Saturday. I was really disgusted. Shout out to former White Sox prospect Dane Dunning for doing his thing. I'm not going to sit here and say I wish he was on the team right now, but I know Jose Abreu, through the translator Billy Russo, was Was kind of saying without saying that some of the guys on the team don't have the same commitment that he does in terms of being consistent and putting out effort every day. And we saw that this team woke up yesterday, which I thought they would, and they won the game. Like you said, Lakeena, and we've been asking this all the season long. When you have a station-to-station team, this is what happens. You look good in some spots, and other spots you don't. The division is there for them to win. You have 4 games in Kansas City coming up, starting tomorrow with that doubleheader to prove it.
Yes, yeah. I think you're that's an understatement, Armando. With Sox are very underachieving. I think that's an understatement, Armando. But look, we've been having the same conversation for like the last 4 months of the season. Sid, I mean, okay,
Yeah.
you got this, the pitching and the hitting when one doesn't show up and such, and then the other one's bad, or one's good and the other isn't, and vice versa. So you can't win a division like that. The only good thing is that the Sox are in a terrible division. So you can take solace in that. But at this point,
Mm-hmm.
I would rather not they don't make the playoffs, just for the simple fact that they'll probably get eliminated by, like I said, like a Blue Jays team or a Rangers team or a Rays team. They're they're not gonna. This team's not gonna go far. And look, you can make yeah, you can blame it on injuries and such, but the inconsistency was there even before all the injuries. So I think people need to kind of just get off of that. So I want to move on because we got other things to talk about to put a capper on this, but I feel like we're going to be having the same conversation for the next 2 months. We're going to have the same conversation. They're going to be splitting these series against teams that this is supposed to be the quote unquote easy schedule, but yet they've been splitting the series in every different ways. They got the Royals, this week, and then by this weekend they got Detroit. Then they got to play 4 at home against Houston. They got 3 against at the Guardians, and they got a makeup game against Kansas City. After that, then they got 3, I should say, against Baltimore. Baltimore is right there in the AL wild card chase, so it doesn't get any easier for the Sox. So I don't know, but it's just I have nothing else at this point. Let's move on.
Yeah, a question for you, Sox fans. You can answer throughout the show. You can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Are you rooting for this White Sox team to miss the playoffs so you can see major changes not only on the field but off the field as well? We would like to know your answers. As you're listening to Second City Sports, the Monday edition, we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakeena here with you. Let's move over to the north side as the Cubs take 2 or 3 from the Miami Marlins. They failed to sweep yesterday as the Marlins get the best of the Cubs. As the Marlins shut out the Cubs 3-0. Wilson Contreras is still continuing to hit the bat. No, he's not crying, folks, but he's staying at least for the remainder of the season. They got great starting pitching with Justice Steele on Friday. They looked good again on Saturday, putting up some numbers on offense. Lakeena, as we said before with the 4-0 win on Saturday, as we said before, Lakeena, when this team sees a little bit of daylight, they take advantage of it. And that's what we've been seeing from this Cubs offense so far this year with Ian Happ, Wilson Contreras, Christopher Morel, who's one of the leading candidates for Rookie of the Year in the National League. And also, you had to talk about that great pitching staff as well, not just with Justin Steele, but with Keegan Thompson as well. Both those guys, I think you could if you're Jay Hoyer, you could build around as far as your starting staff. Marcus Storm has been looking good ever since his return off the IL. So, and you still have Kyle Hendricks as a leading veteran as well. For the rest of the season, Lakeena, we've been saying this all year. Who's going to be separated from the men, from the boys? Who's going to be a part of this Cubs team next year and beyond?
Yeah, and I think that's going to be. And I was on our buddy Titus's show on WVON on Friday. You guys can go back on the WVON's Facebook page to check that out.
Yes, great job on that. You sounded great.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. But yeah, I mean, as far as the Cubs are concerned, look, I said this earlier. I'm going to say it here. Jed Hoyer's got some questions to answer to, and the fact that we don't really know how the Cubs are going to be are they going to be contending in the next couple of years? You need something to sell to the fan base. Okay, you win 2 out of 3 against Miami. Again, yippee! But again, it really doesn't do anything. I mean, Drew Smiley. I saw that game on Saturday. 7 innings, solid 7 innings for Smiley. He's 4-0 in the season. Well, 4-0, I should say. He shut them out, but it's sort of like one of those things. He's 4-6, kind of his 4th win this season. But yeah, I mean, I think the Cubs are you're just kind of waiting to see on who's going to be the person that you're going to build this team on, and I think that's sort of like the thing where that's probably what's going to be happening, and that's what I think Jed Hoyer is trying to see what he has. And look, I mean, if Contreras or Hap, if they end up coming back, that's a whole different situation. But they need
Hmm.
something to sell to the fan base. And again, they don't really have nothing to sell on it. I mean, the Rays on marquee haven't been very good. If you saw Wrigley, the tennis hasn't been very good either this year. So it's one of
Hmm.
those things where you gotta have to, Cubs are kind of at a crossroads. They gotta wonder like what they're gonna be doing these next couple of years in order to keep people engaged.
Yeah, and also too, we talked about this too before. The Cubs are a big market team, and I know that they've been selling off pieces for the last couple of years. What's their plan going to be this offseason? We know that potentially Aaron Judge could become a free agent from the New York Yankees. Carlos Correa, the same thing. He can get out of that contract with the Minnesota Twins. And he took a look at the situation. Like, let me go to Minnesota. We'll have a better chance to win and make that a better team. So you still have some other young pieces as Seiya Suzuki, who's looked good in his return from the IL. You also have Rafael Ortega as well. Is he your future leadoff
Hmm.
hitter? I talked about Christopher Morel. So you do have some pieces, but is it enough to sell a potential free agent to come here to help turn the situation around? Jed Hoyer has a lot of work to do this offseason.
Yeah, and we'll see what he does there. What was like your favorite moment, or what you didn't like about this weekend in MLB?
Okay, well, I know we all had to continue this on the other side of the break, but the New York Mets, they could be the best team right now in New York City. I know the Yankees have lost five in a row, but the New York Mets, I'm not going to sit here and say that the NL East race is over, but they showed me something this weekend, taking 4 out of 5 against the Atlanta Braves. Jacob DeGrom did look great yesterday, no hit ball through 5 innings. I did get a chance to check out some of that live following the Sox game before
Hmm.
he lost it in the sixth inning. And I'm glad Buck Showalter did take him out because he was getting up there in pitches, even though it was around 75, 76, something like that. But the Mets hung on to beat the Braves yesterday to take 4 out of 5. They have the hitting with Francisco Lindor, who's having a comeback season. Pete Alonso is an underrated candidate for NL MVP. You have Starlin Marte as well. You have Edwin Diaz as your closer. So the Mets have the pieces to challenge the Dodgers for the NL. I would like to see that in the National League Championship Series matchup this year. Will we get it? We shall see. But the New York Mets, as we talked about in various points this season, Lakeena, they're the best team in the National League. The defending champion Braves, they have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and also Matt Scherzer, 120 strikeouts he has now. That's the most in Mets history among his first 15 starts, breaking the record by Pedro Martinez in '05. So again, you don't want to say that this division's over with, but that four, I think the Mets did make a statement by taking 4 out of 5 and then 5 against Atlanta, so that helps a lot there. Now, real quick before we go to break, again, we're going to continue this baseball discussion, but. And speaking of the Yankees, I guess they've lost 5 in a row, including being swept by the Cardinals. And yeah, there's definitely some issues that are coming up. I mean, they're hitting kind of take a little bit of a break. Of course, the Cardinals are the first NL team to finish a 3-game sweep of the Yankees in 15 years. So just 4 times have the Yankees been swept since interleague play began in '97. So including 12-9 and that little duo there, they won a pitcher's duel 1-0. The Cardinals did on Saturday. So
Mm-hmm.
should Yankees fans be kind of like in a panic?
They should be concerned, but not in the panic. I wish they had. I wish the White Sox had that record what the Yankees have right now. Oh, that's right. We did have it a year ago, but that's a
Mm-hmm.
whole nother story. But should you be concerned as a Yankees fan? Yes, because we said they needed some extra starting pitching at the deadline. They did get it in Frankie Montas from
Mm-hmm.
Oakland. He didn't look great in his Yankees debut yesterday. Hopefully, that's just a setback. We'll see in his next couple of starts if he can turn it around or not. But the Yankees offense is still good, led by Aaron Judge, a clear front runner for AL MVP. I know John Carlos Stanton has been out over the last couple weeks. Hopefully they can get him back because remember, as we said before, Lakeena, early in the season, when both those guys are healthy, this Yankees team is that much dangerous. I know they added Josh Donaldson. You had Matt Carpenter from the St. Louis Cardinals from years past, and so that rounds out that lineup. So the Yankees team is still good. You should be concerned, but you shouldn't jump off the bridge.
Nah, absolutely. So we'll take a really quick break. We're going to talk some more MLB after the break and finish up our discussion. And of course, this weekend series, some really interesting series this weekend, and with the week coming up, some really good series coming up there. We'll also recap the Pro Football Hall of Fame ceremony and some names, some familiar names that are up for next year, and also too the latest from NFL training camp. Lots to do in the second half hour still. Lakeena McGee, Sydney Brown, like this way. Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you guys after this break.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
Bears suffered a big blow over the weekend. Wide receiver N'Keal Harry went down with what was reported to be a severe ankle injury on Saturday. Henry was traded from the Patriots to the Bears just about a month ago. Chicago opens the preseason this coming Saturday at home against the Chiefs.
High fly ball into left field. Back goes Thompson. He's at the wall and it's gone. Andrew Vaughn with a 2-run shot.
White Sox radio with the call. 8-2 the win over the Rangers on Sunday. Lucas Giolito gave up a run on 6 hits over 5 innings. He walked 3 and struck out 5. Chicago pounded out 15 hits in the win. Andrew Vaughn had a 2-run homer among his 3 hits. Luis Robert had a 2-run double. A.J. Pollock had a pair of doubles in a 3-hit game. The Sox have wins in 6 of 10. They're 2 games out of first place in the American League Central. The Marlins beat the Cubs 3-0 at Wrigley Field on Sunday. Jacob Stallings and Peyton Burdick hit back-to-back homers in the 5th. The Marlins able to avoid a 3-game sweep. While the Cubs had their 5-game home winning streak snapped, they were shut out for the 7th time this season.
For lightning fast sports updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of the most popular sports apps in North America. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
Staples has everything for school at great prices. So this year you won't go back to school. You'll be ready to move forward and build that papier-mâché volcano.
I am not cleaning this up.
Ooh, yeah, I meant the kids. Staples will help them move forward. Right now, Crayola 10-count markers and 12-count colored pencils are just 99 cents each, and Staples 1-subject notebooks are only 35 cents. Everything on your list at amazing prices. Staples, we're not going back. We're going forward to school. Ends 8/27 in-store only, limit 30.
This is a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup sound experiment. We're looking to find the perfect way to hear Reese's so you'll buy more of them. Here we go. Reese's, 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 Reese's. Hey, get out of here, you little stinker. Reese's.
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 Peanut Butter Cups. That breathy one sounded very creepy, am I right?
Welcome back to Second City Sports. We're live in living color, the Monday edition, right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeena McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. I finally got it right this time. You can follow yours truly on Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
We have less than 90 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You have any questions or comments for us, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. Coming up at the top of next hour, we'll have Mr. Jose Zuazo, a.k.a. Big Z from the True Chicago Sports Fans Podcast. He's going to hop on with us to talk some Bears and some Chicago baseball as well and get a little background on him and how that podcast came about. Had a chance to listen to a few episodes over the weekend, and him and his partner do some great work. So we'll have him up kicking off hour number 2 of the program. So stay tuned for that. Let's get back into the conversation, Lakeena, on the rest of the best and worst from the weekend of Major League Baseball. I'll take this one with the Baltimore Orioles failing to sweep the Pittsburgh Pirates. But as you said, Lakeena, in the last half hour, the Baltimore, they're still in the hunt for AL wild card spot, even though they traded Trey Mancini to the Houston Astros. So Baltimore looked really good over the weekend. Speaking of the Houston Astros, they split their 4-game series at Cleveland. The Guardians took the series finale yesterday, 1-0 behind Tristan McKenzie's 8 strikeout performance. So Cleveland still in the mix for a playoff spot, and they still in the race in the AL Central, as we mentioned before. And the Washington Nationals, they still continue to struggle even after the Juan Soto trade. They fall flat on their face. And the Philadelphia Phillies, look out now, don't look out now, but they're right in the thick of this thing without Bryce Harper for the top spot in the NL wild card.
Yeah, they've won 4 in a row, including a 4-game sweep of the Nationals. So I think that helps. They're still right there in the thick of it in the NL wild card. The Blue Jays and the Twins, they split their very eventful weekend series over at Target
Yesterday
Field.
game was eventful enough.
Yeah, well, that was eventful in and of itself. So it was just it was sort of a crazy. They were up early, the Blue Jays were, and then the Twins came back, and then they went to extra innings. Then I don't know, and then they on the overturned. There was an overturned call in the 10th, and then everything kind of.
What did you think about that play? Because I thought originally he was going to get called out, and of course they looked at the replay and what was his face? The catcher of the Twins, Sanchez, he did block the plate and prevented that runner from Toronto to score the run. He actually eventually scored the run, but I thought that call was originally correct out, but then Sanchez of Minnesota kind of blocked the plate, and I thought that was not allowed anymore. This ain't back in the day anymore.
Well, it depends on, I guess, who's calling it. I guess so.
Yeah,
I've seen it called a few times, and I haven't seen people have that's happened to White Sox and the Cubs a couple of times this year. I know that Rocco Baldelli, I should say, the Twins manager, got ejected thanks to that. So that whole thing kind of just that whole ending of that whole game was just weird. But but it is what it is. What is what that. But they split their series, and they're kind of back to where they started. Both teams are. And such, and the Dodgers, even though it looks like Kershaw is going to be on the IL for a while, they have now won 8 in a row, including sweeping the Padres. So I guess that trade, all those trades they've made, the Padres have, it's not paying dividends yet. They're kind of like 1 in 5 or 6 or something like that since those trades. So including being swept by your biggest rivals, though. So far, not so good for those for that Soto, Bell, and all the other guys that they traded for.
Yeah, thank goodness for the wild card spot, because the Padres are still in the mix, and we talked about it before early in the season. Bob Melvin, who's the first-year manager of that ball club, you haven't heard too much of anything issues coming out of that clubhouse, so that's a good thing. But they got to turn it around. They still in the mix there for that wild card spot. I think they'll get that eventually, but their starting pitcher, it just has to turn around. You still have great talent there with a Clevenger. You still have Yu Darvish there. So those guys had to lead that group as far as starting pitching is concerned. Their lineup is amazing on paper. I know Fernando Tatis Jr. hasn't played at all this season, and he'll definitely be an addition when he gets back soon. But Josh Bell, Juan Soto, you still have Manny Machado, who's quietly having a good year, but they just got to put it all together. And they got to get over this hurdle somehow. The Dodgers. Remember last season, Lakeena, they were the new brash team of MLB. They were battling with the Dodgers and the Giants for the NL West title, and then of course they lost all that momentum after the All-Star break. And they were beating the Dodgers too in the first half of the year. And then once that All-Star break came last year, everything went to hell in their handbaskets. So they just got to get that attitude and that swagger back, and they could beat anybody, including the Dodgers.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that they swept the Rockies earlier. I think, they won 2 after those trades. End up finishing up their sweep with the Rockies, but then they get swept by the Dodgers. So the Rockies beat the Dodgers. So there you go. Anything else? Let's see here.
Your Mariners take care of the Angels.
I know. Yeah, I know. Thank goodness. I think that was getting a little bit worried because they were kind of like in a little bit of a slump there. But they get back on track. Winning, splitting their series, I should say, with the Angels. So they're still kind of like right there in distance for that those AL wild card spots. So I think it's sort of one of those things where we're kind of getting into part of the season where there's going to be a lot of jockeying for a position, folks. So let's sort of, if you're a team that's right there in the thick of the wild card race, I think you better. And some of these teams got some very interesting series coming up, so they can start taking advantage. Starting off today, Toronto and Baltimore. That should be a fun one. Starting tonight. excuse me, Reds and the Mets. I mean, the Reds, they're near the bottom of the NL Central, but they can give teams some fits. So we'll see what they do.
That's what they did
the
to
Mets.
Milwaukee over the weekend, taking
Yes,
2
they
out of 3
did.
from the
2
Brew
out of
Crew.
3. Yep. So that was, so don't take the Reds lightly. Washington and the Cubs. Angels and Oakland. That'll be another okay. Pittsburgh.
I mean, folks will show up in Oakland for this one.
Yeah. Well, probably most to be Ohtani fans, I'm sure. Maybe Angel fans, if not Ohtani fans. Just Ohtani fans. It's probably gonna be like the hell area in Oakland. Pittsburgh and Arizona. That first game will be at 8:40 on ESPN Plus. San Fran and San Diego. That should be an interesting one in the NL West. And also to the Yankees start their West Coast road trip against the Mariners. And the Mariners have actually given the Yankees all they can handle this year. So we'll see how they do in Seattle.
Yeah, I was just going to say you saw what Seattle did to him in the Bronx last, so he taken 2 out of 3. So Yankees definitely have revenge on them. Marlins, of course, they're on the current 5-game losing streak. So the Yankees hopefully to turn that around starting tonight. The rest of the series they'll start tomorrow. Of course, you have the White Sox and the Royals for 4, the doubleheaders tomorrow. Of course, you have the Marlins and the fighting Philadelphia Phillies. Also to the Atlanta Braves and the Boston Red Sox. That'll be the Tuesday night game on TBS at 6:10 p.m. Central Standard Time. The Red Sox are in a free fall fast, and the Braves are just trying to keep up with the Mets, and we'll see what happens with those 2 teams. Of course, the Cleveland Guardians will take another visit to Motown to face the Detroit Tigers. In an interleague series, we have Tampa Bay at Milwaukee for a quick 2-game series at Miller Park. I'm not calling it that corporate name. So for those of you who want me to call it the corporate name, forget about it. And, of course, another interleague series, the Battle of Texas. The Rangers will visit the Astros. Of course, in NL, the Cardinals will face the Colorado Rockies in the Rocky Mountain State. And this is a good series for White Sox fans. I know they'll pay attention to this. The LA Dodgers, pardon my bad, Vince Scully, they'll host the Minnesota Twins for 2 games at Dodgers Stadium starting tomorrow.
That should be a fun one, too. And a fun pitching matchup tomorrow, Joe Ryan versus Julio Urias. So that should be a fun series too, starting tomorrow. I'm gonna try to find a way to watch that. But of course, the first game will be on ESPN Plus. So make sure you guys check that out. Some great series.
And don't forget on Thursday, for those that are interested, at 6:15 p.m. Central Standard Time, is year 2 of the Field of Dreams game from Iowa. It's the Chicago Cubs and Wilson Contreras versus Joey Votto in the Cincinnati Reds.
That'll be on Fox at 6:15. I don't know if it'll top last year's. I doubt it will top last year's between the Yankees and the White Sox. I don't think Kevin Costner is going to be there. I don't think so. It'll be interesting. Let's just hope it's a somewhat decent game. But like I said, I don't know if that's gonna work. But that's fine. But you listen to Second City Sports, and that's this week in the MLB. Some great series. Make sure you check those out and check out the listings. You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Lakeena McGee, Cindy Brown with you. Now, Sid, okay, we're gonna go NFL first. We're gonna recap this past weekend. If you guys get a chance to watch it, the Pro Football Hall of Fame speeches. They actually changed it up this year. It was actually in the afternoon. So
first time in many years.
Yeah, it was. I think the first time like 15 years that I think maybe because of the class wasn't. I guess some people would say it's not marquee, so I guess they figured, okay, we can get away with putting it in the afternoon. Which speech stuck out for you, Sid?
Time-wise, it was Dick Vermeil. They gave him 24 minutes to be exact. And I'm surprised that he did not cry. No pun intended. I know he's a very emotional, intense guy, but he thanked everybody that he could.
Until he got to his wife, Linda. He actually
he did save it for the best for last, which was very smart. But it was a good speech. Chicago's very own Bryant Young from the San Francisco 49ers. He talked about one of his oldest kids who passed away several years ago, and he made it all about family. And I thought that was a very touching speech. You could tell he was very touched when he was talking about his journey through Notre Dame and through the San Francisco 49ers. So I thought his speech was very good. Now, this person could be a potential presidential candidate or motivational speaker or something in that fashion if he really wants to do it. And that's Richard Seymour of the New England
Yes.
Patriots. I know he finished his last 4 years in Oakland, but he said it's not about me, it's about we. He went into Robert Kraft and the Patriots and about his beautiful family as well. And so I thought his speech was very good. And Leroy Butler, who had one of the shortest speeches, referencing DJ Khaled and Drake.
Yeah, it's just
He said, you internet, for those of you who don't know what it is, check it out.
Yeah, it's sort of one of those things where like I would think maybe he would have the longest speeches out of all of them. He actually had the shortest. He was only about like what I think it was like 7 minutes, 6 or 7 minutes or something like that. So he kind of he talked about his family and his background. Of course, he thanked the Packers organization and such. The Lambeau Leap, the originator of that. So people forget about that, and he actually shared so like how that kind of like came to be. So that was actually pretty cool. Let's see. Tony Baselli's speech was really sweet as well. He talked about his family, and he lost his dad last year, right before the last year's Hall of Fame class was announced. And of course, a lot of people thought that he was going to get in. That didn't happen. He actually played he actually listened to a recording of his dad, and he got really emotional. So that was a really sweet moment. Excuse me, and a very, very sweet moment there as well. And also to Art McNally, who was one of the Godfather. It was actually pretty cool that he was actually able to kind of play a recording. That was actually a really cool thing there. Of course, the Godfather, the officials sort of changed the instant replays and whatnot. So still a very sharp and very smart guy for 97. I mean, you gotta think that at least get to 97 and still be as sharp and as quick-witted as he is.
Much respect. Much
respect for him. Also to, of course, Sam Mills, and we talked about that too, Sid ad nauseum. If you guys don't are on YouTube, make sure let's watch this on YouTube. Make sure you guys check out his football life. Just very emotional and such. His widow gave a great speech. And she talked about him more as a person than just a football player, and I thought she nailed it 100%. Yeah, it was a very sweet one. And also, please check out Football Life. Just a tragedy that lost his life way too soon, and another person who lost his life way too soon, Cliff Branch, who we all know story with won 3 Super Bowls with the Raiders. I know his sister, his oldest sister, did a very, very, sweet speech for him. I know she and her other brother, they were very, I know Mark Davis, was getting very emotional too. You did because he's, Branch knew that family for many years, and it was just Mark was like a young kid, and that was a really nice moment there as well. So all in all, a really great. Great speeches all around and very emotional. So if you guys didn't get a chance to check it out, it's on YouTube. So just check it out on YouTube. It's all right there.
And just another quick nuggets to wrap up on this, Lakeena. Leroy Butler's speech was, I thought, the beginning of his speech was very telling of what he was talking about. When you play for the Green Bay Packers, the doors open. When you win a Super Bowl, more doors open. When you enter the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the gates of football have been open. So I was like, there is very creative, but very true.
Very poetic too, I will say. Leroy's a poet. You didn't know it.
Mic drop. But also too, most of the Hall of Famers were in the crowd. I saw Mark Davis, especially when, like you said, you were talking about Art McNally and Cliff Branch on the speaking on their behalf of talking about the Raiders. And what's his name? Richard Seymour as well, speaking about his time with the Raiders organization. Mark Davis was there, but it's one person that was there that was not the story, but who was the story that gave his speech, but not on the campus of Canton, Ohio. He did not make a sound, at least from what I've heard. Terrell Owens, T.O.
Yes, he was actually
in there, but he didn't make himself the show.
Yeah, I know. He kind of blended in with all the other Hall of Famers.
Yeah,
I guess. Well, I'm sure someone probably thought. I think he and Brian Young played together when he was with the Niners, so I think that's probably why he was there. I'm thinking that's probably one of the main reasons.
He was there too. He got emotional as well when he was giving the speech. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that might have been the main reason why he was there. So. Yeah, so I think that was probably the reason why he was there. But yeah, you didn't really see him until someone mentioned, "Oh, well, Terrell's there." Like, oh, wait a minute, he didn't make it about himself. Well, look, growth. Hey, that's growth and maturity. That's all you asked for back in the day. Okay, real quick before we move on to the rest of the NFL and training camp happenings, some of the names that are possibly up next year, first year. Darrell Rivas. Do you think he gets in first ballot?
Ooh, he should get in first. He should get in first ballot, but I would be surprised if he's not. I want to see who else was on that list first.
All right. Dwight Freeney.
First ballot? No. I think he'll get in, but I don't know about first ballot. He'll get in, but I don't think first ballot.
Yeah, I think he may have to wait 2 or 3 years since there were a couple other edge rushers that aren't there. Zach Thomas being one, but I'm still bitter about that. But that's a different space. This guy should get in, and he better not. Of course, the team's fans are gonna be rioting. I should say rioting. They're not gonna be very happy. Joe Thomas.
Yes, he should be in. Yes. That's offensive tackle of the Cleveland Browns. I think he's still doing work for the NFL Network. So he has said in his favor to get himself in.
10,363 snaps for one, Mr. Joe Thomas. Zach Thomas, he should have been in already. Some people say he probably should have gotten in before Bryant Young, but again, that's look, I don't know how that works, but he better get in next year. That's all I'm gonna say.
He's the new Chris Carter. He's got to wait for some years.
Yeah. Also, too, there's another guy that probably should have gotten in this year. I know Dick Vermeil. He played for. He coached him. Torrey Holt, part of that Greatest Show on Turf.
Yeah, he put up some great numbers even after that his rookie year when they won the Super Bowl in '99. So yeah, he should get in. I don't know about next year, but I think he'll eventually get in.
And let's see here. Yeah, I think that's about it for the most notable folks. I know I see Chris Johnson. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna get in. I don't think. Let's see. Jari Evans didn't play long enough. So like I said, those are just some of the names. But yeah, I think a couple of those guys probably will get in first. Although Joe Thomas, they definitely. After him, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I was getting ready to say Devin Hester. I know he was supposed to be up this year and he didn't get in. Do you think he gets in next year?
I don't know. Look, sometimes it's how people present you. So I don't know what happened. I don't know why he didn't. He didn't get in. I know that how the Hall of Fame committee feels about special teams guys. How look how long Ray Guy had to wait. So he may have to wait a few more years.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Armando Lara Jr. Checks in via the YouTube. He says, Dick Vermeil gets under my skin. I wonder why, Armando. I wonder why the way he carries himself. I don't know. I'm not gonna put words in his mouth, but like I said, his speech was the longest out of all the inductees that spoke on Saturday. So I think that was I think like I said, his speech was good. He didn't break down, so which was good. No pun intended, but. Yeah, he had more than enough time to thank everybody that helped him along the way. Because, like you said, Lakeena, all those speakers were on the time constraint.
Yeah, and also too, John. It was great to see John Chiara, who, if you guys don't remember, he and Archie Griffin, had their battles in the Rose Bowl. Well, actually, twice in the season, back in 1975 and 1976 Rose Bowl. It was great to see him. He helped, present it with the bus. He was one of the reasons, UCLA upset Ohio State in that 76 Rose Bowl. So that was actually pretty cool to see. Crying at the drop of a hat. Well, actually,
he didn't do that in his speech, Armando. Go check it out.
Yeah. He waited until he mentioned his wife Linda. That's how that was that was kind of when he started crying. Everything else he held back as long as he could. But but that was pretty cool to see John Chiara. It looks 68 years old. Actually, has aged pretty well. So it was actually good to see him.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead because I got one more name that I forgot. I know he probably not.
No, you go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. James
Harrison.
He'll get in, but I'm sure there's some other names that'll probably go ahead of him, so he'll probably have to wait another year or two.
I don't want him to start getting mad, but those are just some of the names that are. Well, you know how sometimes he can be at times. Yeah, so Elvis Dumervil, you think he gets in? There's another name.
He's going to have to wait.
Okay, Cam Chancellor.
Part of
that Legion of Boom in Seattle.
He'll have to wait, but I don't think he'll have to wait as long.
Matt Forte.
He has the numbers to get in. Did he? That's right. He participated in the playoffs in that 2010 season. I think that's only he participated in the playoffs.
Yep.
Yeah, but he did put up some good numbers. I know his last year with the Jets wasn't that great, but he's going to have to wait a while.
And last but not least, Carson Palmer.
Ooh, he took the Cardinals to the NFC Championship game in 2015. He took the Bengals to the playoffs. If he wasn't for his injury, they probably would have beat the Steelers that year in 05 before he got hurt. But
Right.
yeah, he did put up some good numbers. Like I said,
Mhm.
he'll have to wait.
He may have to wait a few years. He may have to wait
Yeah,
maybe like
he'll
5 or
have to
6
wait.
years.
Yeah,
Clearly, he had a great comeback after that nasty leg injury. So
yeah.
that probably propels him to be up there. But he
Mhm.
probably gonna have to wait a few years. Yeah. So an interesting list of guys that are going to be coming up next year.
Yeah. So let's see if Devin Hester can get in. Like you said, those other names you just mentioned, maybe a couple of them will get in next year. Like I said, I think Joe Thomas will get in. You could book that. I think that's a one for sure. And so, of course, you have to have a ceremony more than just 1 or 2 people ain't being inducted. But I'm pretty sure about Joe Thomas. So that'll be a mistake if he doesn't get in next year.
Oh yeah, people would. Yeah, Browns fans will not be very happy if he doesn't get in the first ballot. Listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Lakeena McGee, Cindy Brown with you as we wrap things up here in these next few minutes. Some of the latest news out of NFL training camp. We'll start with the Bears first. Tevin Jenkins is practicing. So you take that for what it's worth.
Yay!
Yeah, right? Like, I don't know if this means anything. I don't know if it doesn't mean that he will still be traded sometime at this point, but he's playing it off well.
Also, too, I know the Bears are preparing for their first preseason game coming up this Saturday against the Kansas City Chiefs at Soldier Field. Will Tevin Jenkins see some action in that? If, like you say, like either they're still thinking about trading him, will he see action? And if so, how much?
Yeah, and also too, N'Keal Harry looks like suffered a very serious leg injury. Nothing, official yet, but from what a lot of folks that we know that are covering these Bears training camp have said that it is serious. So nothing official yet. Matt Evers was keeping things very close to the vest. So interested to see what happens with that injury.
Yep, and also too, Justin Fields. I know he's progressing here and there in camp. I know he struggled to start camp. Lakeena, as we talked about before, it's only so much you could do in practice. The only way we could start to judge if Matt Eberflus's plan is working or starting to see early increments of it when they play the preseason game. We'll start to see that this upcoming Saturday. I know we'll get a little bit more into it on our show on Friday, but the organization can preach out all these messages that they want. They can spend this however they want, but the real truth is going to will tell itself on the field on Saturday.
It'll be interesting to see what happens there because I think people really want to see, how this new offense looks. They probably won't show too much, although Eberflus has said that they're going to play. So, we'll see how much they'll play. I think that's going to be a key in that first preseason against the Chiefs. A couple of cool notes and some good news for Ravens camp. J.K. Dobbins, who tore his ACL last year, I think about this time, has been cleared to practice. He's off the PUP list, so I'm sure Ravens fans will be happy for that. And also too, Justin Tucker, their all pro kicker, got a new 4-year, $24 million extension, including $17.5 million guarantee. I think he's probably like the one kicker where you can say, yeah, he deserves that cash.
Yep, perhaps arguably the greatest field goal kicker of all time. Me personally, next to Kevin Butler's, but the greatest NFL kicker ever. It'll be Butler, Tucker, and Robbie Gould. You would think.
Well, definitely. We'll see. Definitely, he's up there in recent years, no doubt about up there with Gould and some of the others. So, and Mac Prather, I think another kicker you could probably put up there too. Like they would last 10 or 15 years. I think it's probably. But good for him, guys. A nice little check there. So, all right, we got to take a quick break, and we're gonna have Jose Pixie Zuazo from the True Chicago Sports Fans podcast. We're going to tell a little bit about the podcast, and he'll have his thoughts on some of the stuff we just talked about today. Also, too, Fox announced their NFL broadcast crew for this season. We'll make that up for you. And are we going to be doing Old School TV Monday, Sid?
Yes, we are, with a little spin, and I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. I will say this. It has something to do with music. I know I probably just gave it away. But I'll leave it at that.
Okay, all that and a lot more coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. Well, not like I said. Look, he doesn't tell me these things, so I kind of had to figure it out on the fly. But with that said, though, Cindy Brown, Lakeena McGee got a busy hour or two coming up. This is Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. We'll be right back.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
Bears suffered a big blow over the weekend. Wide receiver N'Keal Henry went down with what was reported to be a severe ankle injury on Saturday. Henry was traded from the Patriots to the Bears just about a month ago. Chicago opens the preseason this coming Saturday at home against the Chiefs.
High fly ball into left field. Back goes Thompson. He's at the wall and it's gone. Andrew Vaughn with a 2-run shot.
White Sox radio with the call. 8-2 the win over the Rangers on Sunday. Lucas Giolito gave up a run on 6 hits over 5 innings. He walked 3 and struck out 5. Chicago pounded out 15 hits in the win. Andrew Vaughn had a 2-run homer among his 3 hits. Luis Robert had a 2-run double. A.J. Pollock had a pair of doubles in a 3-hit game. The Sox have wins in 6 of 10. They're 2 games out of first place in the American League Central. The Marlins beat the Cubs 3-0 at Wrigley Field on Sunday. Jacob Stallings and Peyton Burdick hit back-to-back homers in the 5th. The Marlins able to avoid a 3-game sweep. While the Cubs had their 5-game home winning streak snapped, they were shut out for the 7th time this season.
For lightning fast sports updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of the most popular sports apps in North America. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
Staples has everything for school at great prices. So this year you won't go back to school. You'll be ready to move forward and build that papier-mâché volcano.
I am not cleaning this up.
Ooh, yeah, I meant the kids. Staples will help them move forward. Right now, Crayola 10-count markers and 12-count colored pencils are just 99 cents each. And Staples one-subject notebooks are only 35 cents. Everything on your list at amazing prices. Staples, we're not going back. We're going forward to school. Ends 8/27 in-store only, limit 30.
This is a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup sound experiment. We're looking to find the perfect way to hear Reese's so you'll buy more of them. Here we go. Reese's, 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 Reese's. Hey, get out of here, you little stinker.
Reese's.
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 Peanut Butter Cups. That breathy one sounded very creepy, am I right?
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports. We're live and in living color on the Monday edition right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeena McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
And make sure, well, first of all, before we get to that reminder, we have less than 60 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You have a question or comment for us, especially for our next guest, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in questions and comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. And here's our daily reminder. Make sure you now catch Sports Zone Chicago now on Roku TV. That's right. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on the sports section and download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. If you don't have a Roku TV, that's okay. iPad, iTouch, wherever your stream downloading device, your iPhone, your laptop, like we're using right now. Celebrate with the squad. Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku TV. You have any of those streaming devices, just download that Roku TV app. You can access Sports Zone Chicago's programming live and on demand 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Let's not waste any more time, Lakeena. Let's kick off hour number 2. We'll bring you on a new guest. He's a co-host of the True Chicago Sports Fans podcast. Here comes Mr. Big Z, Jose Zuazo, to the program. Jose, good afternoon, my man. Welcome to our show.
Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me? This virtual club is always tricky here.
Yes.
Yeah, we got you. Where can people find you on social media?
Oh, yeah. I am at Big Z _606 media on pretty much every platform, Twitter, Instagram. So it's very easy to find me. Obviously, True Chicago Sports Fans, that's our handle for all across. And you can find us on Twitter. I do a little bit of tweeting for the page. Mostly I'm on Instagram and Facebook. That's where I usually do my stuff. But thank you for having me, guys.
No problem. No problem. I saw you a couple weeks ago on our guys, Sean and Maya, Sean Sierra from Sean and Maya in the morning. You rocked it out there. I was checking out a couple of your episodes over the weekend.
Beautiful.
And you and your co-hosts do a very good job. I tell people this all the time. It's me and Lakeena been going at this for a while. You've been doing this for a while too, but I know you guys are once a week. But getting together content takes time, and you got to engage with your listeners. This is not easy. We do not just come on here and just start rambling and thinking you know what you're talking about. People, if you think you're just going to BS people, people are going to point you out real quick. So these things take time. You have to present it in a way that you get people to give people's attention and keep their attention as well.
Yeah, that's a very hard thing to do. You guys do it live. You have no safety net. I mean, I'm
exactly
recording and then going into the lab and editing the entire show. Because sometimes you do mess up. So I didn't have that luxury of that safety net. But it's a work of passion. You do it because you love it. But there is structure to it. There is you do have to do some research. You have to know what you're talking about. Just like you guys, you've got to put in man hours and woman hours before you even get into the lab, before you go on live. So before we even get into the studio or we're doing it virtually, there's 8, 9, 10 pages worth of information that we're trying to go through and try to condense and make it something listenable and something personal that'll connect with our listeners.
Or at the very least, workable. As we could for the first few years. We'll get more into your podcast in just a second, Jose. But we'll start with the White Sox. They're right back to where they were when Sid and I talked on Friday. They start I'm at a Flimex right now, but yeah, they start the series against Kansas City. Mitzi, can they right the ship? Can they get back, to near the top of the AL Central and stay there?
I mean, the potential's there, right? So you always look at teams and you look at, they look great on paper. And this is one of those teams that it looked great at the beginning of the season. But unfortunately, you have injuries and lingering issues with a lot of these players, a lot of soft tissue injuries, stuff that you cannot prevent. I think you can. I think that the training is not adequate to what they need to be doing, whether it's on a personal level or a organization level, what they're doing. But I mean, they played, I think, 19 games with a full lineup, and that's going back to last year. So I mean, it's impossible to have a winning streak when your players are being shuffled in and out. You have your pitching staff that you have Lance Lynn out. You got Kopech, he's being monitored. He's a grown man. Let him go. Just let him go. Let's see what he can do. He's been overhyped for so many years. Just let him go. The back of rotation was a blessing by picking up Cueto. Cueto's pretty much saved the season for the White Sox. And then you look at your bullpen. Your bullpen was great last year, and that's how it goes. They're not so great this year. With Joe Kelly being a big signing, and he hasn't been the Joe Kelly that we signed. As of late, he's been doing okay. But, when he first came back, he was getting up 7 runs and being put in situations that he shouldn't have been put in. And then you got Hendricks, Hendricks is a very emotional player. He puts all his emotion when he pitches. And when he's off, he's off. And when he's on, he's super on. So it's hard to dictate because it is a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde team right now. They're 2 games back of the Twins. They haven't had a significant run. I think just before the All-Star break was the last time they had a good run. But they have all these players now all back together, and they're babying them. You got Grandal, he's in a DH thing. Well, he's a catcher. Let's go. He has to be involved in the game. Now, he's one of those guys that, just like Abreu, he has to be on the field to be doing well. And right now, Grandal is a singles machine. He doesn't take his walks like he did last year. He's slower than a snail on sleeping pills. He is super slow. If he gets a hit and someone else gets a double, they have a setup for a single because Grandal can't make it to third. I don't know what's going on with his legs, but the amount of money that he's getting paid, he should be working out and getting a little faster.
Yeah, that's what happens. And I said this to people last year with the White Sox lineup. It's a very good lineup when you build like a station-to-station team, this is the results you're going to get with the lack of speedsters at the time of your lineup outside of Luis, Robert, and Tim Anderson. This is the result that you're going to get. I wanted to get to Big Z. I wanted to get to Jose Abreu. Me and Lakeena talked about him all season long. We talked about him on our show to kick off the first hour. He's always struggled in April and the first part of May, but this year he's starting to turn it around, and his average is up to 300 as of yesterday. He had a couple big hits yesterday. It seems like every time we start to count him out, he starts to turn it on again. Give us your observations of Jose Abreu this year.
Abreu's Abreu. He's exactly pretty much very consistent on how he starts. He reminds me a lot of Alexi Ramirez. Alexi Ramirez couldn't hit water falling out of a boat in April and May because he was like, oh, this is too cold. I don't like playing. Abreu has worked so much on his defense, and people thought his offense was going to dip, but he's been Mr. Consistent for the White Sox. He's hitting 300. He's got 14 home runs. That's a little low, but I think he was putting too much pressure at the beginning of the season to carry the team with everybody out, and now he's like, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to get on base. I'm going to hit my doubles. The OPS is 850. He's got a WAR 3.7. So he's actually doing what Abreu does. I don't know what they're going to do at the end of the season. I mean, we got like 5 first basemen on our team, and he's the only one that's really producing. So I don't know if they're going to sign him again for next year or they're just going to let him go. I think he's great in the clubhouse. I just wish he was way more vocal and held the rest of the players in that clubhouse accountable, because I don't really see somebody that's a true leader on that. He's like, I'll do it and you follow me. This is what I expect you to do. But he's not being vocal about that. And I don't think there's really a vocal leader on this team.
Let's talk about Tony La Russa. It came out that, allegedly that he has a 3-year deal. And if the Sox don't make the playoffs or they get eliminated, do you think this is going to be his last year with the team?
You know what? I'm going to light a candle. I really am. Because I really hope this is the last year of Sleepy Tony. Credentials aside, there's been a lot of questionable things that he's doing, and sometimes it feels like he's not managing. It feels like some of these players are doing what they want to do. I feel like there's sometimes where you'll see Joe McEwing just go off and do whatever he does. I don't feel there's accountability. I remember when Ricky was there, Ricky's boys don't stop. Ricky's boys played to the last inning, the last pitch, and they had the mentality, and Ricky held his players accountable. Makata would have run the first. Boom, you're going to sit right here next to me. You're going to watch the rest of the game. That's what I think that they need. They need a hard ass to be on them. Right now, you've got, the grandpa that takes, the kids out to McDonald's and gets them ice cream and chicken nuggets. But when you were, growing up, you didn't get that. There was chicken nuggets at home, right? That kind of situation where you have the grandfather being super nice. That's not what these players need. I think somebody needs to be in their ass and just put, their foot in it. I hope that at the end of the season, whether they get into the playoffs or they don't get into the playoffs, because I don't see them getting past the first round because the Yankees are just going to be a monster. Even if they play Seattle, I think Seattle can kick their butt. I think it'll be a mutual parting of the ways with the organization and the coach. But at this point, I don't know who they can come in and replace him. And everyone's going to say Ozzy. I think that boat has sailed. I think he's really liking his position at NBC Sports.
Yeah. If that happens, according to you, Jose, if La Russa they part ways with La Russa, if GM Rick Hahn stays, you saw and heard what he said following last Tuesday's trade deadline, and I think it was a jab at not just at La Russa but at Jerry Reinsdorf as well. Because remember, when La Russa was hired as manager, Rick Hahn was not happy, and so assuming that Rick Hahn stays and La Russa goes, do you feel that Rick Hahn would get a fair opportunity to pick his manager? I know some people have thrown Ethan Katz's name around, and I said Joe Girardi, but I don't think they'll go in that direction. Do you think Rick Hahn will stay for at least one more year and pick his manager, and at least get one more year at this?
I mean, if you look at the whole picture, how it started, Rick Hahn had put this into place. He finally got the reins of the team, and he said, okay, this is my vision, and this is what I'm going to do. And, you trade away Chris Sale, and you start making all these acquisitions and trading these veterans away because you're not going to win. The organization had the long ball, and let's bring in the attraction, the Manny Ramirez, the Ken Griffey Jr. they had that aspect. And then Rick Hahn said, no, we're going to do it completely different. We're going to tear it down to the studs and let's start fresh. He gets his window. He gets his transition manager. And then he's like, all right, it's time to get the guy that's going to put us over the hump. And then you got the owner who handcuffs him and says, nope, I want my guy in here. And pretty much you can tell at that press conference that he was really pissed off. He's like, you gave me a job, you gave me the authority, and then you just go behind my back and do that to me? Okay. I really feel that he didn't make any moves for the reason of saying, all right, Tony, let's see what you can do with what you got, because I'm not going to make any more moves that are going to help you. I really think he did that. If you look at a lot of trades that happened this past week, there was acquisitions that could have been made, and they were, lower 20s, lower 30s prospects for pretty good players, and they were not rentals. He addressed rentals. He said the price for rentals was way too high. We didn't need it. I understand you can get rentals to put you over the edge, but we needed a second baseman that can play every day. We need a right fielder that can actually play catch. And we need those are your three things that you needed to address. And a lot of teams did that. The Twins did that for very little. What they gave away was so little. It could have been done. I didn't really think Rick Hahn was like, all right, here you go, Jerry. This is your team. This is your manager. Let's see what you can do. So I still think that Rick Hahn will be here. He'll have the opportunity to get his manager. And I think that'll be the final year of either make it or break it. And then after that, you'll see him move on if he doesn't win.
Now let's go to the north side real quick and talk some Cubs. I mean, the Cubs, 1, 2 out of 3 against Miami. Okay, that's cool. But I mean, no. I'm just saying that. I mean, this is just sort of like see what you got. I guess part of the rebuild. I guess. Where do you see this this Cubs team going in the next couple of years? Do you see them still kind of finding out what pieces to use, or are they going to be actually building something?
I really think that the Cubs have a lot of good assets in the minor leagues. They do have some good players. Obviously, remember they traded Yu Darvish for a bag of chips and a couple teenagers. So we don't know how that's going to flourish. We still have to wait on time for that. I think that was an early trade that they could have waited on and got more from that. Then you got the Chris Bryant trade, and you have one of the pitchers up there that's should be coming up in I would say for a September call up. I know he's in Double-A. You have a lot of these kids that are going up there. It is right now. It is a trial of who is going to be here next year. Like Morel, I don't think Frank Schwindel is going to be here next year. I think there's a lot of players that are going to be moved. I don't know if they're going to keep Wilson. I really thought they should have moved him. You have a lot of players like Ian Happ is another player that I don't think is going to be coming back. The pitching staff is very young. I don't see. Usually you can see the direction of the organization of what they're doing. And with the Cubs, I can't figure out which way they're going. Are they going to continue with the youth movement and add some veteran players? Are they just going to continue moving the young kids up? You could have got a bunch of assets for Ian Happ and Contreras, and maybe the asking price was way too high. But now you're going to let them go for nothing. And you're going to be sitting with the bag of a bunch of players that you don't really want on your team.
We're on the line with True Chicago Sports Fan podcast co-host Mr. Big Z, Jose Zuazo, right here on Second City Sports. We're live and in living color on the Monday edition. Sid Lakeena here with you on Sports Zone Chicago. Let's move over to Gridiron and talk some Bears football. Of course, the Chicago Bears hired new head coach Matt Eberflus in the all-season, new GM Ryan Pauls. They're preparing for their first preseason game coming up this Saturday at Soldier Field against the Kansas City Chiefs. Me and Lakeena talked about the drama with the offensive lineman Tevin Jenkins last hour. He's in practice as we speak. He practiced again over the weekend. Big Z, what are you looking forward to watching for this Bears team for this upcoming season? Because let's be honest, they're not going to be very good. Some people may have them at the fringe of the playoffs. I don't see it. Maybe, like I said, the NFL, you don't know. Sometimes you usually get a couple of surprise teams, but as of right now, I definitely do not get that sense with the Chicago Bears. What are you watching for this Bears team coming up this season?
I'm interested in the wide receivers. I mean, you don't know who's going to be throwing the ball, who's going to be receiving the ball besides Mooney. You got Pringle with a free agent signing. He's out with the quad issue. We don't know how long that's going to be. Velus Jones Jr., third-round draft pick, not practicing day-to-day. We don't know what that is. Obviously, I just heard you guys talk about Harry. We picked him up in the New England trade with the bad ankle. We don't know what the status of that is yet. You got St. Brown on there, and then they're looking at picking guys off the street. So I mean, I think we can show up and suit up tomorrow and see if we can get a spot on that team. That's how good they are.
You sound like John Fox right now when he was coaching the Bears.
Yeah, definitely. What I am hearing though is that they're looking at the wide receiver from the Eagles, Jalen Reagor. I think that's who they're looking at as a possible person to bring in, and I think that would be a great acquisition. But right now, I really don't see them throwing to anybody but Mooney and Kmet.
What about Robert Quinn? Do you think that he's still going to be on the team?
I don't think they'll move him. I really think that he'll be a good mentor for a lot of these young guys on here. And then he's experienced with all types of defenses. He had a great year. If he can stay healthy and your team is not doing well, I know there's not many trades in the NFL like there is in baseball or the NBA, but I think they can move him at the trade deadline if his stock is high. Now, I understand there's a chance for injury, and especially with the NFL being such a violent sport, it can happen at any point. But it didn't happen in the offseason. And he says, I'm going to be in Chicago. I want to be in Chicago. But it's a business, and I think if the Bears are not doing well, then you move them and you try to get some picks.
Talk about new head coach Matt Eberflus from the outside, from an outsider's perspective. Looking at it, looks like he's bringing in that old school Lovie Smith type game plan with the defensive lineman getting in shape, creating turnovers, getting to the ball to create turnovers, and he's trying to change the culture almost overnight. But we all know it's going to take some time because this team was very undisciplined the last 3 years under ex-head coach Matt Nagy. Talk to us about from your observations of Matt Eberflus. And do you think he'll ultimately will have success here?
You know what? I mean, you can't tell. I mean, you have Bill Belichick in Cleveland, and he didn't have success. And look at him now. So it just really depends on the right situation with the right organization. And right now, how I feel about it is just looking at the comment by Cole Kmet saying that this is the hardest practice he's ever had. That's saying a lot. That's saying that there is a direction of changing the pace, changing the atmosphere, and changing the culture up at Hallis Hall. So you got Coach Eberflus has an uphill battle to redefining what it means to have Bears football. You're seeing these guys getting into fights, which I actually love because that shows that there's passion out there and they care. As long as they don't really hurt each other, you want to see that passion. You want to see them go after and be dogs about it. You're looking at issues with Tevin Jenkins. This is where I'm very bothered. Eberflus should have just nipped this in the butt. You're either going to play, you're not going to play, or you're going to sit you out, put you on a pup, or trade you. It shouldn't linger on. This guy is a second round pick who hasn't produced for us. Mm-hmm. So why is he such a big distraction? He hasn't had any time on the field. He's been in the training room trying to get better. I don't understand how you try to get better in the training. If you're healthy, if your back is healthy and you're in the weight room and the training room, that means your availability is to be on the field. So that's what's really bothering me, that this guy is really hogging up all the headlines when we should be looking at Justin Fields, his progression, what's going on with the wide receivers. We have a pretty good running back that no one's talking about. Like, what is the offensive line going to look like? Right now it's makeshift. You literally can drop a deck of Uno cards and it'll probably be the same possibility of figuring out who's going to be on the offensive line. But what we do know is that we have a defensive coach, and the defense should be pretty good.
Should be, I think, is the operative
word.
Well,
I mean, they brought in Matthew Adams,
right?
Yeah. And he was under Matt Eberflus with the 4-3. I hear DeAndre Houston, Carlson has been producing well. He's has a pretty good role now. Jalen Jones, another ball hawk. So I mean, they have some pretty good players that they've been developing, and they're looking at what the previous administration did and what's good and what isn't. So you're seeing that's something that I'm very surprised is because they're like, no one's job is secure. We're starting from zero, and show me what you can do. If not, we'll ship you out, and we'll see you later.
All right, let's go to the hardcore for a second, Jose. Talk about the Bulls. The Bulls made some interesting moves. You know, we got Andre Drummond and Goran Dragic. We'll see how Lonzo Ball's knee is feeling. Of course, happy belated birthday to DeMar DeRozan. Also Zach LaVine, and of course, you know, Vucevic. What are your expectations for the Bulls this coming season?
My expectations is that they should be in the second, if not the third round of the Eastern Conference Finals. You know, I would love to see that there. And again, they're so similar to the White Sox, where it's like sometimes they're sleepwalking through games, and they have so much potential on paper, and then you have all these injuries. You know, these guys didn't play together all season. I think it was a handful of games, like 8 games that they played all together. Lonzo Ball is the engine, and without him, you saw how stagnant that offense is. When LaVine can't really dribble the ball up, you know, he can't. He's not that facilitator. That's not his role. I think him being hurt and, you know, having COVID, he didn't have and the knee issue, so he didn't have that lift that he usually has to be able to go to the hole and dunk on people. He didn't have that confidence in his knees. So that was an issue. So if you have somebody who's apprehensive and doesn't have confidence in his shot or being able to dribble and get to the hole and beat his player, that puts a lot of pressure on DeMar DeRozan. And while he carried the team for a while, you saw towards the end, he couldn't do it anymore. And then the bench was just non-existent. So they addressed a couple of things on the bench. I don't think Dragic is an answer. I think he's old and past his time. I really wish they went after Derrick Rose, because I thought that would have Derrick Rose running the second team would have been a great acquisition. I think that would have lit a big fire with the fans. But right now, I don't see Vucevic going up. He stays the same. He's a double-double machine. And, you know, there are games where he's playing against a smaller person. He can take over. But when he's playing those big centers or the big aggressive power forwards, you see him disappear.
All right, last moment or two with Big Z, Jose Zuazo, the co-host of the True Chicago Sports Fans podcast. Right here, he's hanging out with us here on Second City Sports, real live and in living color, right here on Sports Zone Chicago, the Monday edition. Sid, Lakeena here with you. Okay, Big Z, talk to us how this podcast got started. You guys do a great job with great content, putting it out once a week. How did it all start?
You know what? It just came from the pandemic, man. It really came from the pandemic. There was really nothing going on. The Last Dance was coming out, and I think a couple episodes were coming in. And we had just opened our Instagram page, and we made a meme, and it was Nikolai Wozniak's son, Nikolai Wozniak's father, and he was the security guard who beat Jordan, and he put the hands up, and so we were making memes saying the only man to beat Jordan straight up one-on-one. So we got a direct message, hey, that's my dad. We're like, okay, sure. And sure enough, he shows us pictures of him with Gus and the rest of the place. Like, all right, cool. All right, so we understand that is your dad. So we just I literally grabbed my cell phone and my iPad. I FaceTime him and I recorded the audio. And it was a great conversation. We were able to rehash a lot of that stuff that's behind the scenes, especially with his dad being one of the main security guards for the Bulls and Michael. And it just blossomed from there. Me and my coach are high school buddies, and we reconnected 20 years later. And he started the page, and I was doing a lot of the news, and we started this little interview, and it just grown from there. So ever since then, we're over 100 episodes in, and we're on every week. And it's just two knuckleheads from the neighborhood, just chopping it up about sports, and it's been a wild ride.
Where can people find your podcast?
So our podcast is all audio right now, and you can find it on any of your podcast streaming apps. So whether it's iHeartRadio or Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff, it is available on all of the podcast apps.
All right, Big Z, last question from me. And I want people to actually listen to this, not this week's episode, actually listen to their last episode, but the episode before you honored Manny Minoso. Of course, he was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame finally, but they had to wait until he passed on before that happened. That makes my skin crawl, but that's a whole nother issue. But give us just a quick synopsis of what Manny Minoso meant to you in your life as a White Sox fan.
Yeah, that was a very difficult episode and very proud episode, just because it was hard to keep it together, to keep my emotions in check.
Mm-hmm.
Even right now, as you're mentioning Manny Minoso, and what does it mean to you? I'm in my office and I'm literally have a shelf with nothing but Manny Minoso stuff. He's my Jackie Robinson. He's the man that paved the way for a lot of these Latin players to be able to play now, and he paved the way and he stood his ground. And I wish there was a movie in production that would honor him and let the whole world see what I feel about him. He was always at the ballpark, and anytime he was there, I was honored to go talk to him. And he literally made you feel like the most important person in the world. And he wasn't rushed to talk to the next person. He took his time and he asked about your family and how's everything going? What are you doing? What do you do for work? And, he was genuinely interested in having conversations and learning about people. And he was just one of those beautiful souls. And just like you, I was very irritated that it took him passing to put him into the Hall of Fame. The man should have been MVP, Gold Glove, Rookie of the Year. He had the numbers for everything. And I don't know why they made him wait so long.
Definitely one of those mysteries that we'll probably never know about. Big C, thank you so much for joining us today. Definitely check out his podcast and such. Where people can find you on social media once again.
Yeah, it's 606. Big Z _ 606 media. You can find me on social media. True Chicago Sports Fan Podcast is available on all streaming platforms. Thank you guys for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. I had such fun.
All right, thank you very much for joining us, Big Z. Good luck to you and your co-host. Much continued success. Keep up the great work. And when are new episodes released again?
New episodes every Tuesday, so you'll have one tomorrow morning. So I'll be in the lab all day today making one for you, nice and fresh.
All right, so keep up the great work. Once again, that's the True Chicago Sports Fans Podcast with co-host Mr. Big Z, Jose Zuazo. Much continued success, as I said before. Thank you for joining us, and let's do this again down the road, okay?
Definitely, let's do it again.
All right,
Thanks,
take care.
Take care, guys.
Stay safe. All right.
And once again, that was Big Z, Jose Zuazo, co-host of the True Chicago Sports Fans Podcast. As I said before, Lakeena, they do some great stuff, and they kind of do similar to what we do. They take a whole lot of sports and a whole lot of entertainment as well, so to give you guys that balance as well. And that's what we're going to attempt to do and keep on doing right after this quick timeout. Lakeena, as we always say, like Clint Levston in the 92 NBA Finals with Jordan's hitting those threes, we are hot. Woo!
Yeah, gotta take a 2-2 here, but yes. We'll be right back. We'll be right back. We're gonna have Fox Sports announce their NFL broadcast lineup for this year. Some big changes, they make official. Also, too, old school TV Monday and much more coming up next. Cindy Brown, Lakeena McGee, Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you after this break.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
Bears suffered a big blow over the weekend. Wide receiver N'Keal Henry went down with what was reported to be a severe ankle injury on Saturday. Henry was traded from the Patriots to the Bears just about a month ago. Chicago opens the preseason this coming Saturday at home against the Chiefs.
High fly ball into left field. Back goes Thompson. He's at the wall and it's gone. Andrew Vaughn with a 2-run shot.
White Sox radio with the call. 8-2 the win over the Rangers on Sunday. Lucas Giolito gave up a run on 6 hits over 5 innings. He walked 3 and struck out 5. Chicago pounded out 15 hits in the win. Andrew Vaughn had a 2-run homer among his 3 hits. Luis Robert had a 2-run double. A.J. Pollock had a pair of doubles in a 3-hit game. The Sox have wins in 6 of 10. They're 2 games out of first place in the American League Central. The Marlins beat the Cubs 3-0 at Wrigley Field on Sunday. Jacob Stallings and Peyton Burdick hit back-to-back homers in the 5th. The Marlins able to avoid a 3-game sweep. While the Cubs had their 5-game home winning streak snapped, they were shut out for the 7th time this season.
For lightning fast sports updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of the most popular sports apps in North America. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
Staples has everything for school at great prices. So this year you won't go back to school. You'll be ready to move forward and build that papier-mâché volcano.
I am not cleaning this up.
Ooh, yeah, I meant the kids. Staples will help them move forward. Right now, Crayola 10-count markers and 12-count colored pencils are just 99 cents each, and Staples one-subject notebooks are only 35 cents. Everything on your list at amazing prices. Staples, we're not going back. We're going forward to school. Ends 8/27 in-store only, limit 30.
This is a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup sound experiment. We're looking to find the perfect way to hear Reese's so you'll buy more of them. Here we go. Reese's, 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 Reese's. Hey, get out of here, you little stinker.
Reese's.
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 Welcome back to Second City Sports, right here on Sports Zone Chicago, the Monday edition. We're live in living color. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at Keenan_McGee on the IG.
We got less than a half hour left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You have any questions or comments for us, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. And one more reminder, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago also on Roku TV. Live in living color, live and on demand 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So Sports Zone Chicago is available now on Roku TV. Like Justin Fields is on that picture right there on your TV screen. If you're watching us on YouTube and or Facebook, get up Chicago and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku TV. Lakeena, keeping up with that thing with the NFL. You say you have news on the new broadcasting crews for the NFL on Fox for this upcoming 2022 season. Tell us about it.
Yes. They made the announcement today, and some reshuffling. Of course, we all figured, with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman leaving to go to ESPN. Well, I'm sure they'll be announcing their official lineup in the coming days, if not the next couple of weeks. And remember, Fox will be hosting 2 of the next 3 Super Bowls, including Super Bowl 57 this February. And of course, as expected, Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson will be the new number 1 team, along with Aaron Andrews and Tom Rinaldi as well. They'll be doing the sideline reporting. And Joe Davis also will be the new number 2. Of course, that rumor has been floating around for a little while now. Daryl Moose Johnson, who I feel is very underrated when it comes to NFL game analysts, probably one of the best out there. Pam Oliver also, she'll be part of a new team this year. Another one will be Chicago's very own and bold announcer, Adam Amin, in his 3rd season with Fox. Of course, Mark Stachur, 3-time Super Bowl champion, and Christina Pink, who was doing Thursday Night Football for the last few years. She'll now have a full Sunday schedule this year. They're the number 3 team.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilma, and Shannon Spake they stay together.
Yeah, Jonathan Vilma's a rising star over there.
Yes, he is. They're the number 4 team. And Kevin Kugler, Mark Sanchez, and Suburban Chicago's own Laura Oakman will be the number 5 team. They stay together for a 2nd straight year. Chris Myers, Robert Smith, and Jen Hale, who does great work on the sidelines for the Pelicans. She's doing that the last decade. I think like about 10 or 12 years she's been doing that.
Yeah.
Since the franchise has been around. They form a new team that'll be used this year. There'll be other other stuff, I'm sure, once with the flex scheduling and such like that. But those are your top 6 main top 6 team.
So Robert Smith, the former Minnesota Vikings running back.
Yep, that Robert Smith.
Okay, yeah, because he's been bouncing back between them and Big Ten and of course the college football coverage on Fox. So he does great work. So I'm looking forward to seeing him doing NFL full time this year. I know Gus Johnson is not doing it this year. I know our guy Aqib Talib, hope we can get him on the program at some point. I know he's doing Thursday Night Football from the studio this year for Amazon Prime.
Yeah, so yeah, those are your top 16. Of course, this is the time of year where all the networks shelling out their broadcast teams for their college and pro football. So, Fox is the first to do that. So we'll keep you guys updated in case the ESPN and CBS once they announce
Okay.
their lineups for this year. But yeah, I think this is a solid, a great lineup. Look, there's a lot of depth here, especially at Fox. I think. Look, we know that Greg Olson and Kevin Burkhardt sound great together. We'll see how they are. Now they're going to be the number one team until whenever Tom Brady retires. I still say
After this year, of course.
or maybe 2-3 years from now, knowing Brady. So who knows? Who knows? We got Joe Davis and Daryl Johnson, Moose Johnson, and Pam Oliver. They're the number 2 team. Adam Amin, Stink, Sheriff, and Christina Pink. Those are the number 3 team. Of course, we talked about the other teams as well. So I really like this lineup. Of course, Fox does a great job with their broadcast lineup in the NFL. And you got a little mix of older, well, I'll say mature. I'll say that I don't want to age these folks, a lot of these guys, but older. You got the youth. You got a little bit of experience too. Some folks have been doing this for years. So yeah, I really like this lineup for Fox.
And also, too, don't forget Sean Payton, the former head coach, will be making his debut on the Fox NFL Sunday pregame shows with the one with Carissa Thompson, the kickoff show, and then he'll make some appearances on the main Fox NFL Sunday pregame show as well. So we'll see how Sean Payton does as well. I know rumor has that he was up for those broadcasting gigs, but he'll spend some time in the actual studio breaking down the games.
I think it'll be interesting though. Well, sorry, what did you say? I didn't catch that, Sid. You kind of went in and out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I apologize for the audio. But I was just saying, just keep in mind, I'm interested to see how Fox will use Sean Payton this year.
Oh, yeah.
I know some people think that he was supposed to do the games in the booth, but he'll actually be in the studio being used for the Fox NFL kickoff with Carissa Thompson. Of course, the main coverage on Fox NFL Sunday right before kickoff.
I'm interested to see. I'm sure they are going to probably put him out there. Because if you look at Fox, the main Fox NFL Sunday lineup, look, as much as we love him, Jimmy Johnson's getting up there in age. He's still very, smart. He's still very, quick-witted and such, but he is getting up there. And you never know. Coach Payton may have the urge to kind of go back into the field if the right situation comes up. So that could be why they decided not to put him on, on the game analyst role this year. Yeah. I'm thinking maybe.
I'm sure we talked about before. I'm sure they had it written in his contract. Like, if an NFL opportunity comes up that I want to seriously take a look at, I have the right to do that. Just have it in my contract.
Well, look. I mean, look. We were in the room with Coach Payton's agent and the Fox brass, so we don't know. We don't know what the talks were. So it'll be interesting to see what he does.
Yeah, and one other note, Lakeena, as you're reading those crews. Pay attention to Kenny Albert and Albert Amin. Adam Amin, I said Albert. Good grief. I apologize. Adam Amin and Kenny Albert. You'll probably see majority of those two crews because the Bears, we assume they're going to be mediocre at best or bad this year. You're going to hear and see a lot from those two.
Yeah, probably.
Calling Bears games this year. You ain't getting the number 1 crew.
No,
and if you do get a number 2 crew, it'll probably be because of the other team.
Yes, that's probably why. So yeah,
that's how this goes.
Yeah, so you're probably going to be seeing a lot of. I'm sure look. Adam Amin probably gets to sleep in his own bed in his own apartment. So I'm sure he'll probably be okay with doing a lot of Bears games this year, only for that reason, if nothing else.
Yeah,
and, and Kenny Albert as well, because he's done Bears games for years and such. So yeah, like I said, I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. Of course, September 11th is when the season officially starts. Of course, like we said, Fox is a home for Super Bowl 57 this coming season. So yeah,
is that in Arizona this year?
Yep.
It is okay. All right.
Yes, sir. So yeah,
I have my good memory intact. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. See, there you go. You still got it, Sid. But yeah, so yeah, I really like this lineup, and yeah, we'll see what the other. I'm not expecting too many big changes among some of the other lineups. I know CBS, maybe a little bit of shuffling there. Maybe ESPN once they announce their college football announced teams officially. So should be interesting in these next week or two.
Yes, it should be interesting. You're listening to Second City Sports. We're live in living color on a Monday edition right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid, Lakeena here with you. Any other nuggets, Lakeena, from the sports media world?
I was trying to find something. I'm trying to open up an awful announcement. There was some news that came across. Not really like too big, I guess. One of those sort of things. But I know Aaron Rodgers, I guess, said that he owns Chicago. Of course, you saw those.
No kidding.
Right. He was on his podcast, and I guess he said that he owns Chicago. You know how some Bears fans are; they're very like,
Yeah.
whatever. But it was kind of like the thing that kind of like went around over the weekend. But I was just like, okay.
I see here that also too Dennis Eckersley, the former MLB closer for Oakland and Boston and a few other teams. He started as a fifth, started for the Cleveland Indians. I know most of you younger fans didn't know that, but I think he was also a member of the Chicago Cubs too for a short time.
Yes, he was.
But he's announcing his retirement from the Nesson TV booth, the home of the Boston Red Sox, after the end of the season, this upcoming season.
Yeah, that was not really too surprising, though. I think he said he wants to spend more time with his he's a grandfather now, so he probably wants to spend more time with the grandkids. So that's one of the reasons why he decided he wants to finish up his career, TV contract with Nesson after this season. You probably might still see him on MLB Network. I know he was doing stuff for them at one point too. So
yeah,
he's actually really good. So I'm not too surprised.
Yeah.
He's actually
Don't tell that
good.
to David Price. Now member of the Dodgers.
But
that whole story from the 2018 championship season, we won't get into it here. As you always say, Lakeena, Google's your friend.
Take a Google, yeah. They'll say Google's your friend, folks. So make sure you guys check that out. But yeah, so happy retirement to Mr. Eckersley. I'm sure you'll probably still see him from time to time doing like other stuff. But yeah.
And keeping with the baseball thing, Lakeena, did you check out any of the tribute to Vin Scully that the Dodgers did before Friday night's game against the Padres? I caught some of the highlights on YouTube.
Yeah, I saw that.
I know Kevin Costner gave a great 10-minute speech.
I saw that. Yeah.
And then Dave Roberts did what he did.
Yeah, yeah. Also too. Well, and they won too. They won pretty handily. They beat the Padres pretty handily too after that. So yeah, I know that Mr. Costner and Vince Scully were actually pretty close in the last few years of his life. But that was actually pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, it was very subtle. Of course, we all know Vince Scully is a very subtle, very modest guy. So it's definitely kind of like indicative of the man he was. So. And like I said, the Dodgers swept the Padres, so I'm sure that probably will make Vince Scully happy. It might be a little bit help from up above there too, but
yeah. Also, I didn't hear anything about this until this morning. Of course, shout out to our guy Sean Sierra from Sean and Maya in the morning. You can catch every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday live in Living Color from 9 a.m. to noon Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. He talked about Pete Rose, and he was honored by the Philadelphia Phillies over the weekend. Do you know anything about this? He did get some cheers, but a few boos as well. I know there's some people still holding on to the opinion that he still should be in the Hall of Fame, but he's not in there because he wanted to admit to the time that he gambled when he was a manager of the Cincinnati Reds back in the late 80s. Of course, he got booted out of baseball. Of course, Lou Piniella took over that club in 1990. Of course, they won the whole thing. But did you hear anything about Pete Rose being honored this weekend? Because I definitely missed that.
Yeah, I saw that somewhere. I saw they were they were doing something for him. Of course, we know about all this stuff and whatnot. He's not in the Hall of Fame, and such. But there are some misconduct allegations that came out, but they were dismissed. He dismissed them, and that's probably why some people probably were not too keen on the Phillies honoring him this weekend. But I know it's just like it is just a little bit nutty there with this whole, because they were honoring the 1980 World Series team with the Phillies over the weekend. That's what they were doing. Of course, Pete Rose was on that team, so they did that. And of course, there were some folks. I don't think they were protesting, but there were some folks that felt that probably he should not have been there, considering those allegations that came out and such. But but it's you really don't want to get in these situations. But
yeah,
look, they beat the Nationals handily 11-5. So they of course, we talked about it earlier. The Phillies swept the Nationals, so
all right.
Okay.
Let's dip into the world of college football. I know this is your baby. LSU is not included in the preseason coaches top 25 poll. Of course, Brian Kelly left Notre Dame to go to the Bayou to coach the LSU Tigers. What do you think about this? I know that Alabama's rated pretty high. Of course, the defending national champion Georgia Bulldogs are ranked pretty high. The high, but the Miami Hurricanes are right in the middle of the pack. Many people expect them to have a great year, especially in the weak ACC conference. Sure, another conference will probably see some reshuffling in the next couple of years.
Yeah,
But
I
what did you
saw.
think about LSU not being ranked in the top 25 in the coaches poll?
Yeah, you know what? I think they're in kind of like improvement mode with that coaches poll. I think we don't
Okay.
know. They really don't have much there right now, and I kind of I'm not really like not too surprised. Of course, Alabama's number one. Okay, yay. But not a big shocker there. But it's sort of LSU being out. I mean, I guess I don't want to say the cover's bare there, but they got a couple of some talented guys on there. But I think they want to see Brian Kelly coach them up. We saw what happened at Notre Dame. He was able to recruit high, but he wasn't able to coach those guys up. So it'll be interesting to see what he does there. But I kind of find it interesting that this sort of thing. Of course, you got Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, Notre Dame. I don't care; they're ranked too high. I know they got Marcus Freeman, new head coach there. Michigan will try to build the momentum they had last season. Texas A&M, Utah, Oklahoma, Baylor. Those are your top 10. Then you have OK State, Oregon, NC State, Michigan State, USC. Of course, Lincoln Riley is now the new coach there. Pittsburgh, Miami, of course, they're at number 17. Texas, Wake Forest. They got a lot of those guys back this year. They made that nice little run in the ACC. Wisconsin, Kentucky, Cincy. We'll see how they look with a totally different offense without Desmond Ridder. Arkansas, Ole Miss, and Houston. So not a bad list. I mean, people, look, Clemson, I'm sure they'll be right there and there in the ACC. Like I said, the ACC is pretty weak this year. That's why I'm not too surprised that NC State and Miami are kind of right there as well. But they'll probably beat each other up this year. So,
like I said,
there'll be some separation pretty quick.
Yeah, we'll dive deep into it as we get closer to week 0 of the college football season toward the end of this month. But I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. One, Lincoln Riley, I think he'll do well in his first year with USC, especially with this new NIL rule. And they're preparing to move to the Big Ten in a couple of years as well. So he's setting the tone for that. I want to ask you how well do you think he's going to do with that? And number 2, what do you think about Texas football? Because I know they're preparing to move to the SEC in a couple of years as well. I know we saw some signs in them that people think that they're back, but they had a couple of minor setbacks. I want to ask you about those two schools, USC and the University of Texas.
I'll start with Texas first. I don't want to say. I don't want to say this is sort of like a make or break year for Sark, but I'm kind of wondering, is it sort of like one of those things where you got the play, you got the play there, and whatnot. So it should be interesting to see how those guys kind of mesh well together. It'll be interesting to see. I know Quinn Ewers, who is one of the top recruits, we talked about him. Will he be kind of like competing for that starting job? So it'll be interesting over at Texas because I know that Texas. We'll see how they fare in the Big 12, as we know it. But that'll be interesting too. USC. I mean, look. Lincoln Riley got his guy Caleb Williams to transfer there. More opportunity, a little bit more. So it'll be interesting to see how they do it. I mean, they can turn around things pretty quickly over at USC. I mean, they've got a solid lineup of guys. It's just that they just gotta somebody there to coach them up. So we'll see what happens in that front. But yeah, like I said, this is gonna be very interesting, especially for. We'll see how SC does, but yeah, it's gonna get very interesting there over at SC. I think they should be able to turn it around pretty quick. I think that's what the mindset is.
I know some people had them participate in the college football playoffs, so they'll be an accomplishment within itself within the first year of coach of Lincoln Riley. So we'll see what happens, especially looking at their earlier part of the schedule. They should be undefeated till at least late October, and when conference play begins. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, that's probably one of the reasons why some people say they can probably sneak in there is because of that schedule that they have. So up until they officially start conference play. So that'll be very interesting. I mean, yeah, they should be pretty good until they get to they play Arizona State. That should be interesting. They're always interesting between those two plays. So yeah, they should be good until they start conference play. So that's why people are saying that maybe they'll be able to they host Notre Dame at the end of the season this year. So. That's going to be another reason that could be sort of thing that we'll see if a win over them can help get them into the college football playoff, assuming that they win the Pac-12 championship.
They could be college conference neighbors down the road, but we'll see about that. You're listening to Second City Sports, the Monday edition, live in Live in Color, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid, Lakeena here with you. And right around this time, Lakeena, we like to introduce you to our segment called Old School TV Monday. And this week, Lakeena, this is a special edition of Old School TV Monday. Of course, as you guys well know, we talk about old school TV shows, and we talk about old school music and movies and things along that line. Today, I would like to pay a salute, not just the TV show. We did that earlier this year with the passing of Don Cornelius and Soul Train. But I'd like to pay tribute to the 1992 Soul Train Music Awards. The episode, someone uploaded that full episode in its entirety over the weekend, so I got a chance to watch that in its entirety. It aired back on March 10th, 1992. It took place in Los Angeles, honoring the best in R&B, soul, rap, jazz, and gospel music from the previous year, 1991. The show was hosted by Patti LaBelle, Will Smith, the late great Luther Vandross, and the beautiful and talented Vanessa Williams. And of course, these were the honorees for the Sammy Davis Jr. For Entertainer of the Year Award. It went to Miss Janet Jackson. The Heritage Award went to Prince. This is before he changed his name due to his dispute with Warner Brothers Records at the time. I won't go through all the winners because I want you guys to watch the show. But Lakeena, it was interesting to see in the times where we were back in 1992. Of course, remember Soul Train, they were not receptive to playing hip hop music at the time when it was breaking out into the scene in the late 70s into the early 80s. But compared to American Bandstand, Don Cornelius knew that to be relevant, especially with the young people, he would have to play the music that it was relatable to them. And he did that, bringing hip hop into the mainstream. And of course, opening up that show was Public Enemy. You had Naughty by Nature, who would later do the theme song to Soul Train after Don Cornelius stepped down as host. People forget about that. Also, you had other rappers like Will Smith. He didn't perform on the show, but he hosted the show. And you just had rap was started to become the mainstream music at that time. And it led off the show. And I thought it was a very good show. Just looking at some of the groups that were dominating music at that time. Of course, Calling Me Bad, I Want to Sex You Up on the New Jack City soundtrack. It won about 3 awards. They got booed for one of them. I'll tell you why in just a minute. But Calling Me Bad was popular at that time. Boys to Men, they shut it down with a performance. Of course, remember this artist, Lakeena? I almost forgot about this person until I'll name the song in just a minute. But remember an artist named Lisa Fisher?
Vaguely.
Yes. How can I ease the pain? I remember that song. That dominated radio back in the day. And then, of course, you had Heavy D and the Boys who also performed on that show. Of course, that was at the Trouble. T. Roy passed away the year before, so Heavy D gave a great performance. Also, you had Patti LaBelle who performed on there as well. BB and CeCe Winans, they were the leaders in gospel music. We call inspirational music today. Back then, Natalie Cole, remember the song that she remade over her late father's song, Unforgettable? She won a couple awards, including Best Jazz Album of the Year. And it was a great award show. Now, going back to Calling Me Bad, they got booed on one of the awards because the fans booed for one of them because they were up against a new group called Jodeci back then, which ended up winning the last award of the night for that show. I won't tell you what it is. You got to look it up on YouTube. 1992 Soul Train Music Awards. Jodeci was just kicking off their careers as a group at that time. Casey and JoJo, Devontae Swing, of course, they're produced by Puff Daddy. But it was a very good show. I don't have any complaints about it. That was where we were as music at that time. But I just wanted to say that the Soul Train Awards were very important at that time. I'm glad it's back now, especially on BET, hosted by Tashina Arnold and Tisha Campbell. But at that time when Don Cornelius started the Soul Train Awards back in '87, you didn't see R&B music in the spotlight like that. Not on the American Music Awards, and definitely not on the Grammys. You had to wait a couple hours to see one of those performers perform on those shows. But with the Soul Train Awards, they honored hip hop, gospel, jazz, and R&B all on the same stage, all on the same night. You got a great show from start to finish, and you didn't have to go anywhere. All the performers that were supposed to be there, they were there. If they didn't perform, they were presenters. So you saw any and everybody from that genre of music, and you weren't disappointed when you saw a great Soul Train Awards TV show. So
yeah, it aired on Channel 9. I think
here
it
in
was on a
Chicago,
Saturday
yep,
night. Yeah, Saturday night at
yep,
7, I think. So
yep,
it was yeah. Well, of course, various times throughout. I think I saw like one. I think it came on late at night in some parts of the country.
other
And
country, yeah,
yeah, so it's sort of one of those awards. So that was back when the Soul Train Awards were actually sort of relevant and they were must see
yes,
television. It's not
yes,
that way anymore, unfortunately, because music has changed. I know some people aren't really into today's music like they were back in the day. I mean, in the 90s were actually a really good sort of like era in music, especially in the early 90s. You had the new jack swing, you had hip hop was starting to become mainstream, of course. Like you said, Don Cornelius had to kind of, embrace that, even though he didn't want to initially because of the fact that he wasn't a big hip hop fan. Of course, Boys to Men, I think that they came onto the scene from South Philly. Too bad they don't know their months of the year. That's a whole different situation.
yeah,
Well, we'll Google your friend, folks. You'll see what I'm talking about. But yeah,
yeah,
Prince winning the Career Achievement Award and such, and of course, calling me bad. I know which award you're talking about. I won't say it, but yeah, there were a lot of people that were not very happy that they won in that category. Those hits why they booed, but of course, the Unforgettable with Natalie Cole. I mean, that ended up winning a couple of Grammys too, if I'm not mistaken, like two or three
yeah,
Grammys. But in that year prior, but a few months later, I should say. But yeah, it's definitely kind of like that award show. I think that was probably that was probably the best award show of all the Soul Train Awards, was because at the era of music and such. So of course, Too Legit to Quit by Hammer. That was when that
yeah.
song came out, and that actually ended up winning best music videos. So
That was a great music video.
yeah, it was. And I think people realized that, hey, this is sort of like, unfortunately, his career kind of took a downturn like after that song came out. But
yeah, he went bankrupt.
See, I was trying to be nice with that, Sid, but yeah. Also the other
yeah, no pun intended, no shade, no shade.
Yeah, I'll say it covered pretty much all of that. That was probably like, of course, the gospel awards. They had their own award show and R&B and whatnot. So yeah, it's sort of one of those sort of things where you're kind of like, oh, okay. So like I said, that was probably like the best year. Of course, Mariah Carey had that song come out. But yeah, it's sort of definitely one of those like award shows. The Soul Train Awards itself were probably better, especially for hip hop, unless you were Michael Jackson. Unlike the American Music Awards and the Grammys, it's sort of like kind of like showed hip hop, R&B, gospel, all like right there, and a little bit of pop as well, because some of these songs were charted on the pop charts as well.
Yes.
So definitely kind of like that. This particular award show, this particular year, I think was probably like the best out of all of them. Like I said, since then they really haven't really done much with it. I mean, I know they still do it, but I'm like, I don't really know any of the folks on there, so I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But for the most part, so but yeah, this year is probably the one year I might check out this particular award show out this week sometime.
Yeah, so the 1992 Soul Train Music Awards, you get our salute from Second City Sports. You can check out that full episode in its entirety on YouTube. Just type in 1992 Soul Train Music Awards. Just real quick, Lakeena, and speaking of the Grammys, especially back in the day, remember with the hip hop category and the R&B categories, basically the black music categories, you will see a tape delay picture of awards that were given out earlier tonight that weren't televised. BBC Wines with the fake smile, rap artist of the year, Will Smith, and they weren't crossing over and made it into TV time. They had that famous bootleg picture frame, like your grade school class picture, and that's what they did to the artists that didn't get on the TV during that 3-hour live broadcast back in the day. But things have changed so much since then, and Don Cornelius and the Soul Train Awards were a big part of that. So they'll actually honor not just being put into the background.
Yeah, honestly. So, probably one of the best award for this particular award show for this particular year, I think was probably one of the best. If not, it was nominated for an Emmy for live programming. So, that next year too. So yeah, it was definitely earned that. And you'll figure out why if you guys check it out. With that said, you follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
Excuse me, I almost got choked up there. You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. And make sure you follow our podcast, Second City Sports, at War on Anchor. We are available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And make sure you follow War Media at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Smash that like button. Share this program to any and everybody you know. And you better tell them that Second City Sports airs live in 11 color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Second City Sports live every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Thank you very much, Armando, for that great message. We'll see you also on Friday. And don't forget, you can now catch Sports Zone Chicago on Roku TV. That's right. Sports Zone Chicago is available on your Roku television. You have a Roku TV. Just tap into the sports section and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. Just put it next to your Disney Plus app, your Hulu app, HBO Max app, Netflix, Apple Plus, all of those popular apps. Sports Zone Chicago fits right in there. If you don't have a Roku TV, that's okay. Just download it on your streaming device with your iPhone, iPad,
whatever
iTouch.
Device you have.
Exactly. Your laptop, Chromebook, wherever you stream your programming, just download that Roku TV app and access Sports Zone Chicago today.
All right, folks. It's going to be a little bit cooler, so I think some of us are around the country is going to get a little bit of relief from this heat. And it's back to school time, folks. Make sure you make sure the kids. Also, it's almost football as well. So
is it Buck Bellican this weekend or next weekend?
Yeah, it's this weekend. This weekend.
Wow.
What?
We'll talk about it off my bum. I'm feeling a little special segment for that on Friday. I'll keep my mouth shut.
Well, I haven't watched it in the last 5 or 6 years, so you may have to keep that to yourself. Also, we want to salute Sir Nick Faldo for his ending his 16-year career with CBS. At the Women's Championship. There's a video out there honoring with him and of course Jim Nantz and Ian Baker Finch and Frank Nomolo. It's a very tearjerker. I think it's already been viewed almost over 1.5 million times. So make sure you guys check that out as well. With that said, for Sid, I'm Lakeena. This has been Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. And as Armando said, have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you Friday.
Till then, go Sox. Holla!